One, two.
Good morning, afternoon, evening, everybody. I am Gunnar Eos, and we are hot off the presses with a new episode of the Logical Gamers LogiCast. As I stated earlier, I'm your host, Gunnar Eos. I'm here with the regulars and a special guest star. So, the regulars, we're here with Blanka Kong, Mr. Hado Wolf, and little lone member of Logical Gamers, Mr. Zeta Kaiser.
Yes. Hello, I am the dark horse.
Right, we don't invite him often. He just kind of like hacked the Discord server, and here he is. So, but we got what we got who we got. And we're gonna make it work. Okay, so today's topic are gatekeeping in communities, video games, comic books, different forms of media. It's a thing. It happens. Some say it's good. Some say it's good because it preserves the spirit, the originality of the form of media, and some people say it's shit because you got these elitist gatekeeping assholes that want to block a person from injecting new ideas into a media, and these two camps are always at war. So on today's episode, we're just gonna talk around our feelings about gatekeeping, how we feel. Think it's bad? Do we think it's good? Some examples of when we were gatekeepers, and maybe some examples of when we were gatekept. So I'll start it off. Gatekeeping. I can't really think of any examples that when I was gatekept or when I was a gatekeeper, but I can share my thoughts on gatekeeping as a whole. I think it's fundamentally a good thing, but can be abused, like most things in life. When it comes to gatekeeping, when it comes to a piece of media, I should say, it's made a certain way. Um, my I just started getting into Warhammer 40K. I've started delving into the universe, the lore, and all that stuff. And as a new member into that fandom, so to speak, I have been met with people that just like have certain feelings about things. Like, oh, you have to play. If you play the actual game, for example, I mostly stick to the novels, but play the actual game. They're like, oh, these Imperial groups have to be played this way. These Xenos have to be played this way. If you play them any other way, if you deviate from the guidebook, you are banned from these games. You cannot play them. You're destroying the spirit of the game. Now, while I think there's some merit to that, right? There's a world that's these things are built on, and that like fundamental that core should be respected. I am open to new ideas when it comes to um new members, so to speak, coming into the fandom. Like some people have cool ideas, cool concepts for different groups and factions in the 40K lore. I think that's a good thing. I think, those people should be heard, and their ideas should, meld their way into the existing fandom. But on the flip side, my problems come from when someone comes into an already established fandom and demands that things are changed and curtailed to their likings. So I guess to tie this back to video games, if the most popular one I can think of off the top of my head is Pokemon. I know we got a couple Pokemon diehards in the crew. So if someone comes into Pokemon and says, "Oh man, this is so hard. I don't understand these. I don't understand these weaknesses. I don't understand these what's type advantage. I don't understand any of that. I don't like it. Get rid of it. Get rid of it. I don't like it because I want to enjoy the game more. I don't want to have to worry about that." To me, that's a bad example of a new person coming into a fandom because typing has existed since Red and Blue, since Pokemon as a whole existed, and you got to kind of respect that. You can't really just come in and say, "I don't like it, get it out," because you just don't understand it. So to kind of wrap it, bring it back to a point, I think gatekeeping to a certain extent is good to preserve the core themes and fundamentals of any given fandom, whether it's a comic book, a movie, an anime, game, whatever. But I think you can't gatekeep too hard because then you're never going to get new people to join your fandom, you're just gonna have the same old people, and you can be blocking out some pretty interesting ideas by gatekeeping that hard. So now that I've spieled for long enough, I'm gonna pass it off. You know what? We're gonna start with our guest tonight, Zeta Kaiser. We're gonna
Oh shit, there
pass
you
it to
go. Under
you.
the bus.
There you go.
All right. So some new here. How does this work? Do I just say my piece? Do we like interject at any point, or like?
Yeah,
I
we're
mean,
just we're just
you
gonna
can
have
interject, but usually everybody kind of says their part, and then we just kind of like have a fill out the rest of the time with conversation. So,
yeah.
what's your thoughts on gatekeeping as a whole, and
Uh,
maybe some examples if you have like stories to share.
I believe I've said this before. Not obviously not here because I've never been here before. But I am 100% in agreement with gatekeeping because as you already stated earlier, Gunnar, it preserves the spirit of what is going on or what the game is, as opposed to trying to change it or trying to change it too drastically. Like new things are good, obviously, but there is a limit to what you start adding or what you start changing. That it's just like this is no longer the same thing anymore, and now it's just kind of just this weird shell of what it once used to be. I personally don't have any yeah, I don't have any personal experiences of being gate kept out, but I guess in a weird no, that's not a weird way. We definitely did it. We definitely gatekept, or I gate kept, and Blanka Kong
What's
to a certain degree also gate kept.
well, give us your story.
The the story is, oh god, what year was it? Well, it doesn't matter. That's irrelevant. While we were still in college, you know, suffering, being poor, we were all playing
That
this
hasn't changed.
magical game. No, it hasn't. Playing this magical game called Monster Hunter that only me and Gunnar was playing at the time, and it was new for you. It was new for Wolf. It was new for Mister Not Present. It was new for everybody. So it was a new experience for a lot of people. There's a lot of friends that aren't here right now, but we still keep in contact. That it was new for everybody. There was
Mhm.
a particular person that it was not new but new for that we did not allow in,
mm,
and
mm.
Ah.
again, I don't want to be doxing people, so I ain't gonna say names. Not that it
He's
matters.
talking. He's talking about the friend that downloaded the Fatalist armor.
Not him. He's.
Oh,
I mean,
okay.
that could be a different subject. I was talking about the one that slid Julio a business card.
Ah, okay.
Oh,
That
Ah.
that definitely wanted to play with us. That we were just like,
yeah. You
no.
see, you confused us because you used the terminology "friend." He was not a friend.
Well, see,
He
this is
was
why
someone we knew.
this is exactly what I'm talking about being get kept out.
I think that's even a stretch, but okay, continue.
To be honest, I don't remember much after that because it was mostly he was mostly more towards you. I know he
Mhm.
like tried a little bit with some of us, but yeah, like we just did not accept him at all. Like
Right.
he was just like not. We were not feeling him. We were just not
No, yeah,
open to it. But we were just like we kept him out, even though he
yeah, we
obviously wanted
were
to play with us.
we
But
were pretty rough. We would kind of just be playing in front of him and just like, "Hey, you want to join a hunt? Hey, we got two more spaces. Anybody want to join?" And we would never come to him and say, "Hey, I see you got a place, you got a PSP. You want to hunt with us?" We never did. Never did any of that.
yeah, so it was just not an option for him. So we clearly gate kept him out for not that he would have been bad because we had our friend who was I won't say he was bad, but he was random with his but he did teach us all to wave at the blimp, so I guess he was good for something.
I know
When
what friend is that too.
when he wasn't blowing us up, he was good for just random tricks. So
Yep, the Gravios and the boomerang.
yeah, yeah, exactly. So it wasn't like skill was involved or anything like that, but it was just I don't know. I don't know how to describe it as to why we
Uh,
kept him out, but we have done it. So I know we have experience of doing it.
yeah, you know what? That's a good point because I completely forgot about that. And yeah, that's an example of gatekeeping.
And it was less.
Mm.
It wasn't only like the game. It was gatekeeping him from friendship
The
and
group
from
in
just
Right,
the
general.
as a
group.
whole, yeah.
So it wasn't even like specific to like we don't want you playing this game because you're not good enough. But it's like we don't want to be around you.
Yeah.
Period. Which I do feel bad. I look back on could have handled that a little differently, but I'll let you
Mm.
continue.
Yeah.
No, I don't really have much after that. It's just like that's just an example I have of it, but like I don't really have any like I said, I don't have any that I felt like I was gate kept out. Like obviously I played from the movies still in college. I played a lot of fighting games and like I never felt like I was being left out. Obviously I wasn't that good at it, but I never felt like I was being left out or anything like that. Like I felt like I was pretty welcomed in, all things considered, when I would go down to Chinatown.
Oh, that's right.
I
Yeah, because
know,
you would head down there back when there were arcades there.
yeah, when I was allowed and we were allowed to like meet up and actually interact with people. Oh, before the dark times that is now.
Mhm.
Yeah. Well, that and one can say online gaming kind of sped the death of arcades along.
Well, yeah, that too. But I know, like, because I'm not obviously since I've moved, I'm not as involved with the FGC as I was before. But there's in the talks that I hear, there's always this complaint that people feel like they're being gate kept out, and I don't really think that's the case. But I think that's for a different subject of just being being good at the game, which I feel is like something that get misconstrued is that people feel like they're being gate kept out just because they are not good at something, and it's like you're not being gate kept out because of it. You're just you're not willing to learn,
Mm,
and you're taking that all on the game and the people who are playing the game as opposed to looking at yourself as the issue.
that's a good
So
point.
I know we used the Pokemon example, or you used the Pokemon example, Gunnar, and it was like people not knowing weaknesses, and there could be people who do know weaknesses, but don't understand the more intricate parts in the weaknesses, like having stab, the speed priority, stuff like that, and then being upset that stuff like that exists and
Right.
isn't really explained to you in the game, and it's just like, well, that's just a part of the game, that's something you have to learn. But like you said before, people don't want to learn it; they want it to be changed, and it's just like, well, that's not the game's fault that you're unwilling to like at least like learn what are the mechanics. I know some of them are maybe not the best, like hidden IVs and EVs and stuff like that. But
Yeah, like the example from our chat the other night where I told you it's not necessarily a Pokemon's evolution that'll make it valuable. Sometimes the pre-evolution is what's valuable.
yeah,
Um, you didn't know that, but yes, those are the little intricacies and why I feel like that game is so awesome. Pokemon is life. Anyway, sorry to interrupt you. Go on.
oh, that's fine. I still don't agree with that chart and things being priced the way they are, but that's another problem. But yeah,
All right, so
yeah, I think
Wolf,
I'm
let's.
done.
I think Zeta's. I don't know. You have
Yeah,
another story to
no, I'm
share,
done.
or
No,
all right,
I've got nothing. I'm just rambling now.
it's okay. It's all right. So Wolf, why don't you pop in and tell us about your opinion?
So, to be honest, I guess I've been dealing, I guess I've been both the abuser and the victim of gatekeeping without really understanding what gatekeeping is. So after listening to you guys' examples, I I'm confused between the two of them on which side to take at the moment. I'm more in the middle, whereas like I can definitely see the positive aspects of what gatekeeping can bring, especially to a franchise that's been around for so long and the community has grown so used to have of that franchise being. But then I also can understand the side of, well, to bring in new people, we're gonna have to hear these people's opinions of the games, which sometimes can be constructive criticism, which is always good. Sometimes it can just be blatant. I'm a big baby, and I just want this change to fit for me to be happy kind of complaint. Uh, So I definitely could see the negatives and the positives of gatekeeping. So honestly, I don't have a definitive answer of whether it's needed in the gaming community or not needed. I can say is when you're doing it, when you're gatekeeping, you don't even realize that you're gatekeeping in a sense. And when you go back and you look at it, it's like, wow, damn, I feel like a bully. But I can tell you this is that when you are being gatekept, it's not a good feeling. Because I've had experience with gatekeeping. Um, when I was in my early 20s, I got a seasonal job in Best Buy. It seems like Pokemon is going to be the topic of this thing all night. Um,
Well, it is coming out in
but
2 weeks.
I was good point. I got hired, and most of the dudes that worked in the gaming department that I worked in, they played Pokemon at the as well. And I tried to input little things that they were getting incorrect, and I was just trying to clear it up for them. Like for instance, in that particular Pokemon game, there was something called the friend zone. And what a lot of people didn't know in the friend zone is that it was a great way to catch Pokemon with 1 to 2, and I think sometimes even 3 perfect individual values or IVs. I'm not going to explain what that is. Those who are listening, if you don't know what it is, that's okay. Um, but pretty much you can get Pokemon with all with certain stats that are just perfect for that Pokemon. Um, and I tried to explain that to them and why it's important for them to collect multiple friend zones and why it's not to repeat all that other stuff, but they just wouldn't listen to me, or they would look at each other with disgust, like who is this new kid, this new hire talking about? And I did feel a way about it because they're talking about a franchise which is one of my most favorite franchises ever. So if I hear people talking about it, I want to join in that conversation as well. I want to be a part of that community as well because I can legitimately give my a factual input in what the conversation is about. So when they wouldn't listen to me, or when they pretty much just like nudged me over to the corner, it was just like, okay, well, these guys are assholes, fine. It's whatever. And I just continued to play the game pretty much with other people outside of my workplace that was into the franchise as well. So that was one example of where I experienced gatekeeping, and it was on one of my most favorite franchises ever. So it didn't feel good at all. Um, I played Yu-Gi-Oh as well, and before I got really good in that card game, I also dealt with gatekeeping from people who I thought were friends, but when you go back and you look at it and you look at the definition of gatekeeping, that's what they were doing. They were gatekeeping me. I just didn't realize that. Um, so it's a shitty feeling when you're in it. When you're doing it, you don't even realize you're doing it because at that moment you're just more concerned on preserving what you know of the game, or preserving of what you feel this game should be and how it should be played, and you just don't want anybody to come in and poisoning. At least that's how you most people would think, is that new people or new input is poisoning, quote unquote, the title. And I understand that part. So to be honest, I'm still in the middle. I don't have a definitive answer of whether gatekeeping is good or not. I think now I'm more aware of the terminology. I'm gonna start looking for it more. And then from there I can probably sometime down the line make a better assessment of it. But yeah, I've been on both ends without even realizing I've been on both ends. So I don't have much to say about it.
Okay,
So that's
very
where I'm
interesting.
standing. Yeah.
So far we got somebody in the middle, and we have two people for gatekeeping. Gunnar, you were for gatekeeping, right? Pretty much.
Yeah,
Or-
yeah.
Okay. So my position is going to be different from all of you because I'm against gatekeeping, even though I'm guilty of being a gatekeeper, for sure. And I can give you numerous examples. But a few have
Like the
already been
Pokemon
given
example.
that I was a part of. So the the guy from college who wanted to be a part of our Monster Hunter group, I for sure gatekeeped him. And he's not the only person I did it to at that time. I did it to many people. Wolf might remember somebody who was an acquaintance. I'm not gonna. You could say friend, but in my opinion, an acquaintance from high school. He came in as a visitor to our college, which was where our group was, and I kind of like took a giant shit on him over Monster Hunter because he refused to like play the game the way I felt he should be playing it. I don't know if you recall.
Yeah, I
but-
remember him. Yeah.
Okay. So again, I don't want to like name people or anything like that, but I do feel
Yeah.
bad about being that way because it was totally unnecessary. Would I change, like, would I do a 180? Maybe not, but I definitely would have handled it a little more maturely, right? But that's just me looking, hindsight is always 2020. So, me looking back, I can't change that, unfortunately, but what I can do is I can police my own behavior presently and in the future. And so I've made an effort to be less of a dickhead to people. I mean, to put it simply, to not necessarily be like a like, oh, I'm open to everybody, because I'm not. Like, I'm still gonna be myself, and there's still gonna be people that I don't gel with, or certain ideas that I don't agree with. But I think it's important to keep an open mind and at least listen to people and be polite. I think that's important. And I think the thing with gatekeeping is, for those who have never experienced it before, which I find hard to believe, but the best example is the cliche of like high school cliques, right? Where there's a group of people that you think are cool, right? This goes to Wolf's example with the Best Buy Pokemon thing, right? You're trying to kind of like, we have a shared interest. Oh, I have information that you might want to know about, and we could maybe build a friendship off of that shared interest, and then you just get shut down. That's gatekeeping. It's just being shut out of something. And it's not exclusive to gaming or hobbies. It could be to just relationships or friendships, or just anything you do with other people. And so I'm against it now, even though I did do it. I try not to gatekeep, and it's hard to not do sometimes because some people ask to be kept away from the gate, being stupid, if you ask me. But I try to be a little more, political, I guess, about it. I try not to be so blunt about it, even though my knee jerk reaction is to be blunt and just tell you, listen, you suck, you should just do something else. And but it's just like, I wouldn't want somebody to talk to me like that, so I shouldn't do it to somebody else. So an example of me being gate kept out would be something that hasn't been talked about yet. So this was like, I don't know, 2010 maybe, 2009, I don't know, somewhere around there. We were into Super Smash Brothers pretty hard, and this was during the Wii Super Smash Brothers Brawl, I think it was. And we would play it every week, every day almost, at the school. And I had the idea of,
Please.
yeah.
Okay.
So I had the idea of like, man, it'd be cool if we could like enter a tournament, right? And I'll be honest with you, I thought we were pretty good at the game.
Oh God, okay. I know
but we weren't. We were not good at the game, at least not in a competitive, way.
Yeah, real quick, I retract my statement. I have been a victim of gatekeeping because I was part of this. So continue on.
So we were all there. I think we were all there.
No, we were all there.
Yeah, I believe we were.
Yeah,
Everybody
we
here
were
was
all
there.
there. Plus a few other people. And so I used one of my old Yu-Gi-Oh contacts, which is, it's this old couple that runs like a small card anime shop in somewhere in the city. I'm not gonna say where. I don't want to leave any trail. And so I call them and I tell them, hey, are you guys running like Super Smash Brothers tournament? Like, I've been really interested in playing in tournaments in that game. And they were like, no. And I was like, okay, would you be interested in hosting a tournament? And they were like, yeah, sure. And then so I kind of like, I didn't have a hand in producing the tournament, but I kind of planted the seed, and I provided them a big part of the population of players who played in the tournament, because I convinced everybody to go. It was pretty far too, so they were lucky we were willing to make the trip. But anyway, we go down to play in this like local Super Smash Brothers tournament, and we made up about 85% of the population of the tournament. That last 15% of people that were playing, which is maybe 4 guys, 4 maybe 5 dudes, were super hard Smash Brothers players, like very good Smash Brothers players, at least from what I can understand. And they fucking wiped the floor with us. At least they wiped the floor with me for sure.
I didn't last long.
Destroyed, right?
I think out of this group, Zeta and Wolf were the ones that lasted the longest.
Think so.
Yeah.
That sounds
Yeah,
accurate
yeah.
to me.
Won our matches, but then after that, I think we lost.
So it's not, the problem isn't that we lost horribly. The problem is that we lost horribly and they were not humble about it. Nor were they grateful that this tournament happened because we were there and because I even planted the seed in the first place. Maybe not that they knew that part, but it's like they were so toxic about like they were just super obnoxious about how easy it was to win this thing. And it was just like, in my head, I'm like, you realize that because you're doing this, this will never happen again. Like, you're shooting yourself in the foot. Because we're never coming back down here for this again.
Nope.
And you're not going to have a tournament to play on. At least not here, right? Not in this location. And it never did happen again. Like, we were just like, a lot of the people in the group were like, they looked at me and was like, don't ever ask me to come down here again because it's not happening. Which I understood, and I felt the same way. I was like, and I felt bad. I was like, I wasted these guys Saturday. You know, we had to deal with these idiots. And don't get me wrong, I didn't go home and cry about it. I was annoyed, but I wasn't. It wasn't a big deal. But it was definitely one of the first times that I had experienced being on the other end of just being crapped on and being like excluded from this hobby or from this thing, right? This thing being Super Smash Brothers competitions. And I've never played Smash Brothers competitive ever again, right? And so in doing that, who, like, if the timeline was different, and let's say that was a great experience, even though I lost, it was still fun. Who knows? There might have been more events that spawned from it. There might have been an entire community that could have blossomed from that one event. But it was all undone, and we'll never know if that would have happened because clearly, this isn't like a Marvel movie. There's no multiple timelines. There's just a timeline that we know. So ever since then, and amongst other experiences where I was the gatekeeper and the gatekeepee, I now try very hard. And when I say try very hard, I mean it takes a lot of mental energy for me to block those initial knee-jerk desires to be a fucking asshole or to be like shitty to people because I feel like they deserve it, or maybe I'm just in the bad mood. I try to actively not do that. So an example of where I wasn't a gatekeeper, but I could easily be a gatekeeper, is with Monster Hunter. New players, you know, people I work with, people I go to school with, people I know from other circles, try to get into Monster Hunter, and I try to be supportive. I try to be like, all right, let me try to help you out. Because I know it could be a hard game to get into, especially if you don't have like a dedicated group of friends to start at the same point as you, right? So it's like, okay, well, I'll start down here with you, and I'll kind of like, I'll run your pace, even though I could run faster in this game, and I can blaze through all this content, but I'm gonna kind of go your pace so that you learn the game because I want you to be a part of this community, right? Granted, for my own selfish reasons, I want Monster Hunter to continue to grow so that I have more Monster Hunter to play, but also because I think it's a good thing to do in general. So while I could see the merit to gatekeeping being a healthy thing to maintain the tradition of a franchise or maintain like, you know, what it is or what it once was, I get that, but you know, I think in doing that you'll eventually kill it yourself by not letting it breathe and grow into something else. Does that make sense?
Yeah,
Well, I get what you're saying.
Yeah,
I
'cause I mean,
think
how regular Monster Hunter became World is just like just a slow progression to what it is now.
Yeah, but I think Monster
yeah,
Hunter World is fantastic.
No, I'm just saying like that's the slow progression of like how something should be as opposed to like
Yeah.
I don't know, like a Zelda 2. That's like the only thing that could come to my mind right now.
well,
assignment.
More like so. More like so. I feel like you mentioned earlier about the FGC or people feeling like they're not accepted by the fighting game community because they can't catch on to fighting games. So companies then develop the whole one button combo system, which I completely disagree with 100%. Um, that a fighting game should have you press one button and you'll get a whole combo from it. I don't care how little damage it does. It shouldn't be that way, period. Um, but what I think is good about, I think as someone who's interested in a franchise or interested in a type of video game, if you have someone new coming in and they are complaining about certain things, I think we could take that extra step and explain to them why this thing is there. So, like for instance, in early Monster Hunter games, it annoyed me in the beginning, but I learned the hard way. We all learned the hard way. You take your potion and you flex, right? Someone coming in to play Monster Hunter after we've already gotten used to it, someone coming in to play Monster Hunter, they'll complain about that. And they'll say, well, this doesn't make any sense. Why am I flexing after I take a potion for the monster to hit me? Well, the reason is because you shouldn't be taking a potion in front of the monster to begin with. It's a way to punish the player for pretty much not paying attention to what he's doing or what she's doing at that given moment. Once I'm able to explain why the pros and the cons, at least what I believe are the pros and the cons of the video games exist or why they exist, I think more and more people will start to understand, even if they have a complaint to put out there. But it wouldn't necessarily be gatekeeping them by saying, okay, well, this is what's a part of the franchise, and this is why this exists, and this is what we players do to get around this. I think a lot of times is lack of understanding that gets people, annoyed, or they feel like they're being gatekept, or I don't know. I think once you don't understand something, you're more quick to think the worst of it instead of just trying to learn to understand it. And as players of a specific, for if I'm going to teach someone to play, um, you know, let's see, play Metroid, right? I'm a fan of Metroid. I played most of the games. So when Gunnar EOS was coming into Metroid, I did have that. We did talk about it. Like, Metroid is not one of those easy side scroll games that you get hit, you have 3 lives, and no, it's a pretty difficult, thought out, mental kind of strenuous game. It's not something that you're just going to pick up and play because you feel like you can play it. But I never said, oh, you shouldn't play Metroid. Or when he asked about it, I never ignored the conversation. I just let him know on what could be a con to him playing Metroid, which the difficult factor, the backtracking, the constant or feeling extremely weak in the beginning where you're pretty much not doing much or not doing anything, you're running away from most things. That's Metroid shit. That's just what Metroid is. But I did reassure him, like, listen, as you play the game, she will become a powerhouse and the game will become easier. So I gave him that, I guess, glimmer of hope that he can play this. At least that's how I thought about it in my head.
Oh,
You
yeah,
know,
I
like,
get what you're saying. Yeah.
so I feel like we should be teaching people who come into video games, if we don't want our franchises to change dramatically, then we should be teaching them why the cons are, what we do about it, and how we manage it to get around it, and why we enjoy the game in this way or fashion. Maybe that's a solution. I don't know. I don't even know if I made sense in what I just
No,
said.
no,
But
I get, no, I get what you're saying, and I agree with you. But there's with most things in life, there's a line that can easily, or a slope that you can easily fall down to with that line of thinking. Like, I'm all for new people, like I said, but when
Mhm.
when something, take Monster Hunter, right? We've been talking about that in Pokemon. Back then, in the early days of Monster Hunter, that game was predominantly on PlayStation Portable and then migrated to the DS and then the 3DS. It was on two platforms that, yeah, sure, we can argue sales numbers, but in the grand scheme of things, were arguably niche platforms. Not everybody owned a PSP, not everybody owned a DS or a 3DS. People owned PlayStation 2s, 3s, Xboxes. More people owned those than the portables. So when World came out, that was when Monster Hunter hit mainstream, right? It was on mainstream consoles, later on PCs, so the wider audience had access to it. So you have a lot of new players coming in, and that's when I would see and read, because I would specifically spend time on message boards just to see, like, hey, what's the like, what's the new, what's the new Monster Hunter community talking about? And I would see nothing but, this monster's hard. When are they gonna patch him? When are they gonna nerf him? This new monster's hard. When are they gonna patch him? This Fatalist fight is unfair. I don't like it. I can't beat it. When are they gonna patch it? Monster Hunter should have easy mode. Why can't I have infinite potions? Why do my weapons dull when I use them? Why do I have to have ammo, and why do I have to make ammo? Like, you had those people coming in who didn't know and didn't care that these things in Monster Hunter existed, that you're fighting a monster. Yes, you are always at the disadvantage. You never really have an advantage. Yes, you have to sharpen your weapon. Yes, you have to create ammunition if you use bow guns. They didn't want to learn that. They didn't care to learn that. They were like, well, everybody's talking about Monster Hunter. It's cool. I want to play it, but I can't get past Anjanath because my weapon keeps saying it's blunt, or I'm doing no damage to it. Why do I have to sharpen it? That's stupid. I just want to swing at the monster. So that's when I feel there's a certain level of gatekeeping that has to happen, where it's like, look, this is how the game is. You have to sharpen your weapon. You have to drink potions. You have to make potions. You have to bring items on a hunt. If you don't like this, maybe look into playing something else. It's one thing to come into a community and want to learn about it. It's like, all right, cool. So what are skills in Monster Hunter? Why do I want to, why does a greatsword user not want to have blunt damage on his armor sets? Like, why? Why? If a guy is coming into a group and asking why, and asking to learn and asking legitimate questions, I'm all for it. Like, come in, I'll teach you. We'll go to school. But if you're coming in like, why do I gotta do this? That's stupid. I don't like that. I shouldn't have to do it. This game is dumb. Like, where am I? Like, why can't I just block? Why do I have to have specific weapons? Yada yada yada. Just negatives on why they have to do something in a game that's existed long before they came around. At that point, it's like, you know what? Close up the gate. This game ain't for you, friend. There are plenty of other games that way. That's just how I feel. I'm all for new people, but when you start saying this, that, and the third is dumb, and you're saying, get rid of that, change that, I don't like that, add this, take away that, nah, sorry. You gotta get gatekept.
Well, yeah.
There's the door. See your way out.
I mean, like,
So I hear what you're saying. I do, and I don't necessarily disagree. But maybe this is just me. I don't know. Maybe I'm the dark horse in this topic. But unfortunately, things change. Look at Pokemon. We're going to talk about Pokemon again. Pokemon, there's officially 8 generations of Pokemon, as far as like Pokedexes and regions and games, right? I can't speak for you guys, but I know me and Dev are Gen 1 for life. Like, that's Gen 1 is like everything.
Mm-hmm.
Well, maybe I can't speak for him, I don't know. But like for me, Gen 1 always. Like, I out of the 151 original, like, I like them all. Like, legitimately. Like, there might be one or two that I'm like, I could live without Jinx. But like, for the most part, it's like, if you ask me my favorite Gen 1 starter, it's like, or Gen 1 Pokemon, it's like, God, like, you gotta give me a few hours to think about this shit. Like, I gotta write them down, I gotta do research, I gotta read Pokemon entries. I'm like, all right, well, who's better? Like, it takes thought to really answer that question genuinely. Because I can pick 30 Pokemon that I can say are, I love this Pokemon, I love that Pokemon, I love this Pokemon, I love that Pokemon. Like, it's just, it is what it is. But if you speak to somebody half my age, they're going to have those same sentiments about Pokemon Sun and Generation 7, right? Or Pokemon Platinum and Pearl, Generation 4, right? The franchise to grow, it's got to change. And it's going to change with or without you. If it's going to grow, it's going to change, and it's going to change whether you like it or not, right? That's an unfortunate reality that I've grown to just accept and go, okay, well, if we're going to have these different like subgroups amongst this larger community of Pokemon fans, then I just need to find where I fit in and just kind of stick to that, and then respect other people's spaces and other people's opinions. You know what I mean? So
Yeah.
that's kind of what it's become. Like Monster Hunter, for example. Take it back to Monster Hunter. The last monster that was shown for the new, was it Sunbreak expansion for Monster Hunter Rise is Shogun Cianatar. I streamed the event. I was fucking excited. When I saw it, I was like, oh my god, Shogun Cianatar. That's awesome, right? Because I'm a Monster Hunter 2 baby. Like, that's my shit right there.
I
Monster
didn't know
Hunter
they
2.
were adding in Shogun Cianatar.
Thanks for watching my streams. So, just kidding.
Ratting yourself out.
Anyway, in every, like, if you go watch the video for Shogun Cianatar reveal, if you go to the comments, it's one of two comments. It's, oh shit, Shogun Cianatar is back. And who the crabs? Like, what? Like, why is everybody excited? This is stupid, right? Those are just the two camps. There's old school Monster Hunter people who know who Shogun Cianatar is and appreciate him coming back because we haven't seen him since Freedom Unite. No, well, Monster Hunter Generations, I think he was there.
Yeah, Generations.
Yeah, he was in Generations, but everything was in Generations.
Yeah,
so,
it's like
whatever.
Smash Brothers, but for fucking Monster Hunter.
For Monster, exactly.
Like
But then
everybody's
there's the other camp, people who started on Monster Hunter World, and my knee-jerk reaction, honestly, is you ain't a real Monster Hunter fan if you started on World, right? That's my knee-jerk reaction. That's like my deep feelings
Toxic
inside.
gamers at it again.
You mean like you're not a real Zelda fan if you played Breath of the Wild?
Sure, you can have that opinion. See what I'm saying? And I'm wearing a Zelda shirt, or
Yeah,
you know,
you
a shirt with Link on
disrespectful
it.
person.
No, but I like The Legend of Zelda, and I like the Wind Waker Link. I think he's cool as hell, and I have played it. I haven't finished it. I will at some point, but I still like the character. So I'm still gonna fucking buy the figures, and I'm still gonna wear the shirts. And to the gatekeeper who's like, oh, well, if you haven't played the first Zelda, or if you haven't played Ocarina of Time, don't talk to me. And it's like, well, I just won't talk to you. So fuck off. Right? That's just how I deal with gatekeepers now. And I think that's the best way you can deal with them, because what else can you do, right? But that's why I think gatekeeping is, it's gonna happen regardless. Like, you can't change that. It's just behavior. It's just how we are. Like, people are tribalistic. People are possessive. Like, once something is theirs, they don't want it to change. And if somebody tries to come in and change it, it's like, well, no, you're trying to do harm to me. That's kind of like the response that we give to other people. So, but even though I feel that way about people who play Monster Hunter World and consider themselves Monster Hunter fans, somebody like Maximilian, somebody who I do watch, but I'm like, man, this guy's kind of like late to the party. Him playing Monster Hunter as hard as he did good things for the Monster Hunter franchise. So it's like, all right, well, I'll just accept it. You know, I won't say anything negative. I'll just keep those thoughts to myself. And I'll be polite. I'll play nice. Does that make sense?
Yeah,
like, do you kind of see my point?
Yeah.
If we gatekeeper, we're stopping the franchise from growth.
Even though that's our true feelings. Like, it's like if your girlfriend asks you, do I look fat in this? It's like, well, okay. In my mind, this is what happens. Everything goes and a fucking whiteboard comes up, and it's just like, okay, is she fat? Now, if you say she's fat, these are the things that are going to happen, right? And it kind of web charts and becomes like a flow chart of like possibilities, right? And so it's like, okay, well, which route makes more sense? right? So I'm gonna tell her that she looks fine in it, right? If she does, even though she does look fat, you know.
What if she catch you in the 22 and says you're lying?
Then I have to convince her otherwise, right?
Yeah.
So I'm not
No,
trying to change your opinions on gatekeeping. Like, I think everybody should have their own opinion, and I think everybody's opinion is valid. It's just, you know,
yeah, no, I get it. I think gatekeeping is largely personal. It's a personal thing. There is no like official standard for anything to be enjoyed, whether it's a comic or movie. I just think, you know, it's all based on the individual. Like I'll just give one last quick example. You know,
go for it.
Zeta
We got time.
is yeah, okay. Zeta, he's part of that. He's the one that like showed me fighting games because I didn't fucking. I mean, I knew what fighting games were, but like I said, I'm over here playing RPGs and Legend of Zelda, while Mortal Kombat and Street Fighter are big in other circles. So I was just never really for fighting games. So when we started hanging out more often, it started with Street Fighter Alpha 3 on the PSP mostly. Like we would play together and he would just fucking ruin me. And I had like no idea. And he could have just been like, ah, well, you know, I'll just treat you as a slightly above average training dummy. But he tried to help me. Like he showed me like what, you know, what's a combo, because I didn't even know what the fuck that was. Combos, what are supers, EX gauge, EX moves. And I was like, oh, okay. So I got better at it, but like as time grew and we played different fighting games, you know, from Marvel vs. Capcom, Street Fighter 4, 5, Soul Calibur, the whole gambit. Like I never felt excluded, and when, you know, our circle got bigger and included you guys and some other people, I never felt excluded, even though there were some people here in the podcast and other places who were clearly just naturally better at me than fighting games. I never felt like, oh man, like these guys don't want to play with a scrub like me. Like I never felt that, but it hit a point where it was up to me to either say, why aren't these games made easier for me, who have no real desire to get better, or get frustrated when something that I don't, or something that I practice doesn't work, or just say, you know what, this ain't my thing. This is just not my thing. So, you know, I stepped away from said thing, and I can watch tournaments. I do watch tournaments. You know, Zeta posts some cool stuff from Weeb Fighters. Yeah. So, like, and I watch them and I'm like, I understand what they're doing. Like I know what cross ups are and blah blah blah. And I know all that. It's just like I can't really do that unless and I've stated this opinion before, so this is kind of like a rehash, but I've I know what it is. I know how to I can do it. I can perform the action, but I don't want to take the time to do it. I realize that. So instead of saying, "Oh, you guys, the FGC is so, you know, elitist and gatekeepy that they don't let scrubs like me, you know, perform 40 hit combos so I can get into the next tournament, you should change the game for me. You should change the game so I don't have to do that." I just said, you know what? This ain't for me. I'll watch it. I'll respect it, but it's just not for me. So I think, yeah, you know, at the end of the day, I still believe in gatekeeping. That's English. Gatekeeping to a certain extent, but I do now, and like after hearing everybody's like arguments about it, I do feel it is a largely personal thing, whether you feel like you're gate kept or whether you feel gatekeeping is good or bad. So that's just, you know, my like personal anecdote about it.
Cool. Anybody want to add to that? Because I have more stuff to say, but I don't want to like take over.
I mean, the only thing I would add is as far as the going back to the Smash tournament thing, where where Gunner said he felt like he was a gatekeeper. I personally didn't feel like I was being gatekept out of that situation, but that's probably because I just went in with a different mindset of like, oh well, this is like I've never done a Smash tournament before, so whatever happens, happens.
Mm-hmm.
But I mean, I just in general, like even if we won, I just didn't like those people, period. So it wouldn't have mattered if they won or not. It was just like I don't like you as an individual, so I don't want to do this again. And
That's my
you know,
point, though. Like,
Well,
it's not.
yeah,
I said the same thing. Well, I mean to cut you off. I'm just gonna say this one thing and I'll let you
yeah.
go, Dev.
Mm.
I didn't care if we won. You know, it would have been nice, but it was the way they went about it, right? They were talking shit, and I would hear them say, like, I would listen to their little, like, side conversations of, like, who let these guys in here, kind of, you know,
I was waiting
energy.
for you to go with the Diddy Kong, huh? Or whatever
Oh
he
yeah,
said.
that was a comment. That was a
Yeah,
comment. He criticized your character, your chosen character.
Yeah, I
I think
remember
was
that.
Diddy Kong or
Yeah,
it was
something
Diddy
like that.
Kong.
and I
Yeah.
don't play Diddy Kong because he's top tier. I didn't even know he was top tier. I played Diddy Kong because I like Donkey Kong, and but Diddy Kong is a byproduct of that preference. That's it. Like, you know what I mean? So, like, little things like that, I forgot about that. I'm not even talking about that. Like, see, you just threw another stick to the fire.
I
Um,
remember it, but that's just like I said. It's because I was just like I
they
just
were
didn't like
just
the person.
being dickheads about it, and so
Yeah,
it's like, okay, so, like, clearly I'm not meant to be here. That's fine. I'll leave, right? And so, you know, you illustrated what I was saying before even more, right? Even though you said you didn't feel gate kept, but it was a way of like, I don't want to really be here. You didn't feel welcomed. That's what gatekeeping is, whether you're welcomed in or not. That's why the gate is there. Is it closed or is it open? So,
but at least for me, I felt that was more just like not. Well, I mean, we did say it was open to anything, but I didn't want to. I didn't associate it with like the game of Smash Brother and more of just those individuals as people. Just like I just don't like you are not people that I would mesh with on any level.
yeah,
Like even like I'm saying, like even if we had one, it's just like you're not somebody I'm going to be like, yeah, this was a good interaction with just another human being. Period. I just like them or because I think we did y'all play Yu-Gi-Oh as well, or was that just also going on the side? I don't remember.
I think that was also going
that
on.
was, yeah. But me and Wolf weren't playing. At that point, we had retired from Yu-Gi-Oh.
Yeah, it was stopped. Yeah,
Yeah, because
it
even
was. Mhm.
because I was like, we wasn't even playing that, but just even them on this side, I was just like, how they was acting. I'm just like, fuck is wrong with y'all? Like that, and you
Soap
know
and water. Soap and water.
yeah, I was about to say that, and you know the
It's a
typical
positive chemical reaction.
Yeah.
the typical meme of the Smash people don't take baths, so there was that as well.
Either way,
And and I remember Gunner, I mean not Gunner, well probably him too, but I know Wolf left with like a massive headache.
I
yeah,
think I
yeah.
had a headache too. Yeah, just that much human body odor in that small a space, that shit fucking hit the migraine real quick.
Yeah. So that's just all I'm adding into it. It's like I didn't associate it with like being gate kept out of Smash as opposed to just being like I just don't want to be with
Annoyed.
you as people. Yeah, like I was just annoyed with you as people as like a whole. Like I don't want to be around y'all. Like there's no world in which I would want to like interact with y'all again.
So that's the issue with the Smash community is, to my understanding, and I'm sorry for anyone listening who feels that they're not a part of that, but the Smash community is known to be a very toxic community. Whether there's sore losers, sore winners. Yes, there is such thing as a sore winner. Um,
Yeah, no.
the Smash community is
Had to
not
deal with it.
right. The Smash community is not a pleasant, from what I've seen. The Smash community is not a pleasant community to be a part of in general. And then so you deal with that. And the funny thing is the Smash community, in a way, if I'm explaining this right, is gate kept out of the FGC community themselves,
Hmm.
because a lot of fighting game competitors do not consider Smash Brothers to be a legitimate fighting game. So Smash players in general aren't even really accepted into the FGC overall. So it's so funny that they're so hard on gatekeeping and so hard on being toxic as a community, playing such a wonderful game, such an amazing game that I feel everybody should play. Um, but they're not even accepted into the same category that they should be accepted in. So it's just like how the shit just rolls downhill.
Yeah, the Street Fighter 5 guys are giving them dirty looks.
like oh, you play Marth. Right.
Well,
It's like,
I'm gonna go play a real fighting game. Excuse me.
you know, but it's just like how weird human beings can be, because we even keep for people who is really a part of the community already. It's just like that's just
It's
insane.
weird
It's
tribalism.
really insane. Yeah, it's that weird tribalism thing going, and I don't think the Smash community has changed since.
Doesn't
It's
seem
To
gotten
be
like it.
honest,
a little better with Ultimate. A little.
mm, yeah, I don't know. I again, I play the game, but I don't play competitively. After that experience, was just more like, yeah, this is not a community I want to be a part of. So I'm done. When we were playing Marvel vs. Capcom Ultimate Marvel vs. Capcom 3, there was a spot that Zeta used to go to, and I followed him from time to time. Me and Esoteric would follow him from time to time because me and Esoteric are also fighting game enthusiasts, hard fighting game enthusiasts anyway. And I experienced both sides of it. I experienced a dude who was just a straight up asshole. I think is because he didn't like my team. Um, Not to mention he also had a hard time with my team. So he spent his time at that location for the few hours he was there for. He spent that time trash talking my team for Ultimate Marvel vs. Capcom 3. And it was, it's a lot of energy to exude that much negativity. Like
Game was kind of cheap, so
well, Marvel vs. Capcom is designed on cheap. So you can't like there's no team or three characters you can put together in that franchise and call it cheap or honest. That all those characters, with the exception of what, maybe three are or four, are pretty much they have some stupid shit about them that you gotta deal with. You just have to deal with it. Zeta, you're the one who taught me that, and why I was able to play Marvel vs. Capcom 3 is there are things that I'm gonna come across that I just have to deal with. And that dude didn't like that. Where on the flip side, another guy was more positive, and he was like, "Okay, well, that team is solid, but here's what you can do with them. Here's new synergy. Here's a new way you can go about it." So he was giving me ideas on how to make it better, or not relying on one or two tactics that I knew to use on that team. So I got both the negative asshole who was a sore loser, and then I got a more positive person who was more accepting and just wants to see people play. That positive person understood the only way he is going to get more Marvel vs. Capcom games is by inviting new people. He understood that.
Mm-hmm.
I feel. The other dude was just more salty because he is used to getting his way, and I presented him a team that did not allow him his way. So he was very childish about it. So it's just so funny on how a person's mindset can change from something
People
just
will
based on
gatekeep
one.
amongst other people within the same community. It's so bizarre.
Exactly. Yeah. It's like, but I'm here to get better too. Like I don't mind trash talking. We trash talk all day.
Oh, of
But at
course.
the same time, I never, and if I've ever made anyone feel negative, feel truly within themselves not adequate to play a game from trash talking, that isn't my intention. But that's why I only keep the trash talking to our little circle. I don't trash talk people outside. I just give them my full 100, whether you're 10, 20, 30, 40, 50. I don't care how old you are. If you challenge me, you're getting me at 100%. That's just me. But
Just
I don't
show
consider
you
that
gaming little
gatekeeping.
kids.
Well, I mean, he picked up the controller. He got to learn somehow.
I mean, you're
It's,
not wrong. It's just
very,
funny.
very bad. Feel very bad for your son when he get older.
hey, I did it to my son the other day. He wanted to play Dragon Ball Z. I said, okay, sure. And he was like, Dad, you're not fighting me seriously. Fight me seriously, because I was letting him win. And I was like, okay. And I beat him. And he got upset. But you know what? How I know he's truly my son? He kept going. He kept going. He didn't stop. He didn't throw a temper tantrum. Yes, he got upset because he's 6. How can he control that much, temperament?
That's fair.
But the thing is, he always said, "No, we're going again, and we're going to keep going until I beat you." That was his mindset.
So I'm the little kid whenever I fight Zeta in a fighting game. I'm just getting my ass kicked. I'm like, again.
Oh yeah,
because you want.
that in Street Fighter 4.
What is that in Street Fighter 4?
Yeah, there was plenty of that in Street Fighter 4. He was like,
Oh,
God
yeah.
fucking damn it! All right, let's do it again.
Yeah, like Street Fighter 4 was the first time I played a fighting game to where I want to understand the fighting game in its all intensity. And to be honest, every single time I lost to Zeta was more like, if I could just take one round, I'll consider myself the winner for the rest of the night. I don't care how many.
It's a personal win.
I don't
It's a
care
personal
how many
win.
exactly. I don't care how many matches I actually lose. I just want one round off this clown, just one. And when I got that one round, I knew that all the rounds before that I lost was training me to win that one round because I learned his tactics, I learned his characters, I learned his habits. So because of all of that, from losing so much, I was able to become better
better.
to take that round.
Yeah.
And I think my little one understands that innately because he must have lost like 50 straight games and he kept wanting to go. So I definitely agree with Gunna Eos. Gatekeeping is a mindset, and it's to not gatekeep with the intention of understanding that you want your franchise to grow is a mature mindset. To gatekeep because you don't want to lose what your franchise authenticity is something I do respect. I can respect it and I can understand it. I guess it's just really seeing it from both sides and just understanding that both sides need to work with each other. People who want to gatekeep and people who don't want to gatekeep, and people who want to come in and learn, and people who want to come in but feel like it's too much to learn. Everybody should just humble themselves and actually communicate like a community. Keyword, communicate, community. It's similar words for a reason, so we're supposed to communicate with each other to make this franchise grow while changing to fit everyone, but also staying authentic enough for the older heads to be able to recognize what they're playing.
Recognize and be able to pass on like information, because if it's new for everybody, I mean that could be a good thing, but that could also be a terrible thing because it cannot be good, and you turn off the old people because you change it too much, and the new people just don't click with it at all.
Right. So then you end up with a drastically altered piece of medium that, the old guys don't want because this isn't what I grew up with, and the new crowd don't want because they think it's lame or it's not one way enough. So now you just end up with this mishmashed, malformed thing that nobody wants. That's how franchises end up dead. That's how without getting too much into it, that's how whole industries end up dead. There are like mediums in industries right now and pop culture that are, in my opinion, fundamentally dead because they were like, oh, okay, cool. Yeah, new kids, what do you want? You want this, that, and the third? All right, cool. Old guys, nah, get out of here. We don't want you anymore. And then nobody wants to support us. Nobody wants to buy our stuff anymore. Shit. So
now what do we do?
Yeah, right. Now, do we court back the new guys after we told them to go screw themselves, or do we continue chasing the new crowd and hope we can get something that clicks with them? And for
And
those,
go on.
no, I was gonna say, and for those mediums, haven't been doing well in that regard.
Nope.
Now, staying in the fighting game genre, that's what happened to Soul Calibur. In a way, when they got rid of all the older characters to introduce new faces to bring in, or new faces and new game mechanics to bring in a younger audience, or a new audience, and look how that game flopped so bad.
Yeah,
so bad. Not one,
Happened with Street Fighter 3.
and that happened. Right, it almost happened with Street Fighter 3 as well. And not one of those characters returned in what Soul Calibur 6 is what we have now, right?
Yeah.
That's the last one.
Yeah.
So
You're right. You know
now
what? I realized that none of them would come back. None
none
at
of
all.
them came back. It's like they threw that
Oh no,
whole
that's
game
not
away.
true. No, she came in 4. Never mind. I was about to say Hild, but she didn't come in 5. She came in 4.
She came in 4 with the Star Wars characters.
Yeah, never mind. Yeah, you're right. There's literally nobody.
Nobody came back from that game. That game is literally like under the rug for
Yeah.
Namco Bandai. And that's what that is. That's what happened. I also feel like, I hope I don't get blasted for this, but I also feel like the younger generation, adults or teenagers or kids, they don't have the attention span like older people.
Oh no, we'll get blasted together because I agree
I'll
with you.
TikTok is the hot new
Right.
thing.
Look at
like,
TikTok. How long are those videos?
yeah.
Right. They don't have the attention. And even on TikTok, trends, they come and go within what, a week, 2 weeks? And then all of a sudden it's a new trend.
Yeah, I
So,
could never be a creator on that shit. Oh my
right.
god, I fucking have an aneurysm.
So that's where I understand why people would want to gatekeep, because then the companies start to add higher to accommodate the younger audience or newer audience whose attention span just isn't that long. And when their attention span isn't that long, they're gonna drop the game just as quickly as they pick it up. And now, those who accepted them but would have preferred to keep it original, now they have to deal with this hot mess or something that's completely new to them that they don't know anything about or that's not familiar to them anymore. So, like I said, it's all perspective. I definitely agree with Gunnar Eos. It's just you as an individual and how you want to go about it. But I definitely could see both sides. I honestly cannot pick. I honestly
It's
cannot
tough,
pick.
man. It's literally a slippery slope. It's
Yeah.
easy to go both ways
Mhm.
on that topic. And that's why I thought it would be an interesting thing to talk about.
All I know is my disclaimer: anybody fuck with my Pokemon franchise, and I'm going to the dark side. That's all.
I mean, they've already fucked through the Pokemon franchise.
Yeah,
a
but I
couple
can
of
deal
times.
with what has been happening as of late. I can deal with that. But I mean, like, oh, we're not going to include typing anymore because it's too complicating. Yeah, pitchforks and torches. That's all that's coming from me. So, like, don't no. That is the one thing that I want to hold dear to me. But like I said again, that's why I can understand where Zeta is coming from on wanting to uphold gatekeeping as a thing in the video game
Yeah,
community.
I get it. I get it. I'm not against it. Like, I'm not saying you shouldn't do it ever. I understand the merits behind it. It's just that with my own personal individual life experiences on being on both sides, it's like I think I'm leaning toward this camp where it's like I don't really participate in that anymore. So we're almost out of time. I'll say a quick funny one, which shouldn't have happened, but it did, and I found it funny when it did happen. I was like, "Excuse me." That was my response when it happened. So this gatekeeping situation, I was on the gatekept side. I wasn't the gatekeeper. This was from Monster Hunter World. Monster Hunter World first came out, and I was promoting it like a motherfucker. I was telling everybody to try it because I want the game to succeed and I want more people to try it, and hopefully as a result, the community grows and more Monster Hunter games come out. So, as you guys know, and as you guys have been with me on the journey, I've been playing Monster Hunter for a long time, since Monster Hunter Freedom 2. So a little over 10 years now. And so this other person who was ironically a gatekeeper knew that I was like a longtime Monster Hunter player. And he looked at my Monster Hunter trophies, like the PlayStation trophies, and he was working toward getting the platinum, which I still don't have to this day because they want me to do stuff that's just boring, and I don't want to do it. Gold crown hunting, it's the worst. Anyway, he was working toward the platinum. I guess he wanted to measure dicks in Monster Hunter with the Monster Hunter veteran, me, and he wanted to gain an inch somewhere. So he looked at my trophies and noticed that I didn't have the trophy where you cook meat for the first time. And the reason why I didn't have that trophy is because you don't need to anymore in Monster Hunter World. That's something you had to do back then,
Yeah, that's back then.
but you don't have to do that in Monster Hunter World or modern Monster Hunter because
They just give
the
you
tempo of
rations
the game has changed. They give you a ton of rations. You can make energy drinks. Like there's just so many options. Whereas if you played Monster Hunter 2, you're making fucking meat. Like you're cooking meat. I streamed Monster Hunter Freedom Unite a few weeks ago. I was taking the 10 minutes to cook meat. I'm like, I need this shit. Like there's no other way to boost my stamina. And he messaged me. He was like, "You call yourself a monster hunter and you don't have the trophy to cook meat?" And I'm like,
Yes.
"Who are you again? Like, this is your first Monster Hunter game? Like, brother, I've cooked more meat than you will ever cook in this one game and all the other games that I've played. Are you kidding me? Like, that's not
I was,
even
I was
like,
cooking meat before they made an English version
get out
of
of
the
here,
meat.
kid. You know, the guy's older than me too, ironically. But it felt so like you're talking to me like that. Like you couldn't even hold a candle next to me. Like, are you kidding? Like, get out of here. But it was so weird. Like somebody who's like clearly below, like who's like your underling, but they're trying to gatekeep you and the thing that you've been a part of this whole
Already
time.
good
It's
at.
like it's so weird. So bizarre. I
Oh,
thought
yeah,
of that when I
like,
was
you can't
writing.
cook meat. Like, sir, I've killed Fatalis in 3 variations.
Yeah, I've killed multiple forms and multiple subspecies.
Not
Like,
to toot my own
what are
horn,
you
but
on
I killed Fatalis with a hunting horn solo when hunting horn was the worst in
there?
Monster
Like,
Hunter 2. So please, like,
we've literally
and
played the game,
I
no
try not
armor
to
on, just to
tell
add a
people
challenge.
that because it comes off as like, you know, elitist. So I just keep that to myself. But I did it. So
I mean, that would have been a time for it.
That would have been
yeah,
a time for it for real.
but he doesn't even know what a Fatalis is or what a hunting horn is. So it's
Well,
like
even better to show the discrepancy in
So it's like whatever. I just let it go. But this okay. But when this happened, I was at my point where I was like, I'm above this. I'm just not
Why
going
is
to
it
say
only
anything.
you that gets all this crazy ass hate mail
Yeah, he.
online?
Yeah,
I
right.
don't know.
Kong gets some pretty ruthless shit, man.
because he's the only one that like interacts with people like this.
I guess so. So
Only
yeah,
ever you.
that was a funny little like a gatekeep situation that shouldn't have even happened, but it did.
That was a flimsy gate he put up, but I get it.
Yeah, it was this little fucking paper gate. It's like get that shit out of here.
Like a 2-foot fence, and you're like what, almost 6 foot. You're just like,
He's like,
yeah, I'm just gonna walk over this.
okay, that's all you got. The meat cooking. Okay, I'm gonna go. You have a good day.
I'm gonna walk this way where the big boys hunt. I'll see you later. So anyway, we are out of time, gents. But that was our gatekeeping episode. Very interesting takes. I think very different takes, which I think makes for interesting conversation, fun, interesting conversation. So on to the ending portion. Mr. Esoteric is not here. He had some prior engagements to attend to, so I'll apologize on his behalf. But he does stream every Monday, Wednesday, Friday, 9 p.m. Eastern Time on Twitch TV under Logical Gamers TV. So if you guys want to check out some single player action, check him out. He's always playing something new. I also stream on Twitch randomly. I don't have a schedule, so sorry. But under Blanka Kong on twitch.tv. So check me out. I usually play Monster Hunter, retro games, PS2 and back. So, you know, check me out there. We also run social medias. So we have Facebook, Twitter, and Instagram. So whichever, you know, program you use the most, you can check us out on there. Follow us for any updates. We film our podcast once a week. We publish every Wednesday at 12 p.m. Eastern Time. So check us out there. Subscribe so that you're alerted whenever these episodes go up. Give us a like and comment if you want to tell us stories about times you've been gatekept or you were the gatekeeper, and your opinions as to whether you agree with it or not. This was Blanka Kong. That was an episode. Catch you guys in the next one. Peace.
Adios.
Yep.